Arsenal 3 clear at the top. And Postecoglou's reign of terror is over, making him the second fastest managerial sacking. And Liverpool downward slope steadily continues after Harry Maguire, Jonathan Maguire, scores to make it 4 losses in a row for Liverpool. I'm Chris Coleman. You're watching AfterMatch. Welcome to AfterMatch. Back in the normal location this time. And after a 2 week hiatus just got the international break, we're finally back for another episode. And for anyone actually watching the video, you can see that the sun is right on my face, which is marvellous. Anyway, we're going to start with the game that got Postecoglou sacked after 90 minutes after the final whistle. Nottingham Forest versus Chelsea. And again, I'm going to firstly say what I think as a Chelsea fan myself. I thought first half would have been maybe at full time of a 0-0 draw or something. Because we were literally showing nothing. We needed to make changes. So you had Garnacho, Santos and Lavia come off from Mark Guiu, Joey Gittins and who else was it? And Caicedo, of course. And yeah, we had the game pretty much wrapped up after about 7 minutes of the second half, with Josh Anchampong getting his first goal for us, which was very good to see. And then Pedro Neto managing to squeeze it in past Matt Sells. And realistically, I'm actually quite surprised Nottingham Forest didn't score today, because it is Ange Postecoglou we're talking about. So it does shock me that he's not got a goal today. So that Igor Jesus chance, oh my god. I'm still surprised now it's not got in. I've watched it about 5, 6, 7 times now. But yeah, it was eventually wrapped up by Reece James and Ricardo Ole, who was ringing around the ground when Augusta got sent off. I mean, it's all funny and all, but it would be better if that stopped at some point. But yeah, rather happy with it in the end. Thought Mark Guiu gave himself a good audition for the Ajax game, seeing as Joe Pedro is going to be out. I'm just looking on. Oh yeah, Sel's got a really low rating. Jesus Christ! I'm not surprised though. He probably should have saved the second one. Probably dealt better with the goal that led to the third. Yeah, apparently Postecoglou got sacked when he was going outside. Literally, I imagine Maradona just going, oh yeah, by the way, I'm not happy with the results, you're getting sacked. And now we've got Sean Dyche in. And good lighting, can you cooperate? If Sean Dyche does make more sense, I know you're going to have a bunch of non-Forest fans who aren't going to be happy. Or it might be, I don't know. But going from Nuno, who was a goalkeeper in himself, it's going to be defensive tactics, and replacing him with someone who's pretty much attack and hope for the best in Dashboard's calculate, it wasn't going to work. So realistically, I'm not surprised he got sacked. Anyway, I've been talking for 4 minutes about that. Yeah, let's move on to Brighton versus Newcastle, which is I don't really know what to say about the game, but Danny well went back to his best, you would say. But saying that, it's like, I've been very impressed by Nick Woltemade. Out of all the Bundesliga players who came in, you had like Florian Wirtz, you Hugo Ekitike had. I could go on, but him and probably Ekitike was probably the two that came with quite little fanfare. Though with Ekitike, everyone knew about the whole Isak stuff, so it was sort of like glazed over as, oh, he's just going to be second choice, but he's been amazing. And Woltemade, first game, everyone said he struggled. It did look like it looked like it was his first game, and that's normal. But today, he looks like he's really settled into the Premier League now. Like, I don't think anyone who's like low on form would try that audacious back heel thing he did. I think if I would try that, I would either send it over the bar or just fall over my own feet. But yeah, it didn't come to anything in the end because Danny Welbeck got go right before the full-time whistle. Well, I think right before it was the 84th minute, but yeah, it's at the moment it's a bit of a mid-table clash. All it's done is got Brian up to 10th. I think up to 10th. I can't remember where they were beforehand. I really should check. That is the point of this. But yeah, moving on. If anyone saw my prediction shot I did earlier in the week, you would have seen I put 1-0 leads. But I was wrong, and also I'm going to mention it later. And I think, well, you're not going to know why, but I know why. But Burnley beat one of the second promoted side. It was a battle between the 100 pointers from the Championship, and as a Chelsea fan, Leslie Kachukwu got like 2 or 3 goals already for him. It's actually insane. And what's more insane was Loom Chowner's goal. Chowner. His goal, sort of like Baltimore's was like your team that is usually quite defensive, which could actually explain why when you're like a defensive team like a Burnley or when he was managed by Sean Dyche and Everton, you would shoot from that far out. And my God, Carl Darling's got to get nowhere near that. but yeah, I feel like I'm not the only person who's seen all the promoted sides. And granted, Burnley wins, I think, have only become against Sunderland and Leeds. But they've proven they probably can get enough to stay up. And at the moment, Sunderland look like they're going to stay up comfortably. I think at the moment, because they could end up just losing like 6 on the trot, and I'm going to be sitting here in about 6 weeks' time saying what happened. But yeah, I don't think many people will be surprised if they all stay up because they're playing well. You've got teams like Wolves, West Ham, who I'll get onto later, and Nottingham Forest who will give them a good run in the relegation fight. So finally, we could actually get a season where at least one of them stays up, not like the last 2 seasons where pretty much all 6 of them sort of went down without a fight. It's all because in the transfer window, if you actually look at all their transfer business, for the first time in a while, Sunderland did Nottingham Forest when they went up. They just bought a load of people. But the difference is, I've said this already, Sunderland have actually bought in positions that they needed, whereas Nottingham Forest just, if they're using the Chelsea joke, just tried to sign anyone who had a pulse. So yeah, slowly starting to think all 3 pro sides are going to stay up. So moving on to game of the match week, game of the season. I was about to say, but I'm sure one of the big sides, the 2 of the big sides facing each other is going to change that. But Crystal Palace 3, Bournemouth 3. As a striker, you got to feel like frustrated if you get a hat trick and you don't win the game. But in this sort of scenario, I think Mateta would be going home quite happy. Because if your Bournemouth team are playing well, your Crystal Palace side who've just lost your first game and you don't want to go on downward spiral. A 3-2 loss to Bournemouth probably could have potentially have done that. And it looked like it would be the case when Eli Junior Kofi put them 2-0 up. And when I was watching the live feed ticker thing, I was like, Crystal Palace I thought a good part here, but then Mateta, if anyone remembers him for first signing, he was definitely third choice behind I think Benteke was there. Might have been around the same season as Ilson Edward was getting there as well. You had John Ayew and all that. He looked completely out of the picture. And then just something happened and now he's first choice, no questions asked. Yeah, so him and Daniel Munoz is becoming quite apparent because both of his first two just seem like carbon copies of each other. Then Ryan Christie looked like he'd ruined it for him. But then Chris Palace got a penalty for grappling in the box as they are trying to kick out, so you can understand why it was given. So yeah, gave him the match week to 100%. Moving on to Man City Everton. Everton without Jack Grealish because, of course, Jack Grealish is a Man City player on loan at Everton, so he's ineligible to play. I don't know, I struggle to say that. Which I think I saw someone online, one of the pundits, saying that they're not a big fan of that rule, but it's been a rule for ages. And we actually, if I remember rightly, with my apparent Steve Trafford knowledge, is that I remember West Ham, West Brom were facing each other, and West Ham would let West Brom sign Robert Snodgrass, if I remember rightly, and then also let him play. He was on loan, and everyone had to go for that. So it's sort of like the other way around at this point. But yeah, without Grealish, everyone sort of expected this would be a piece of cake for Man City, and it was Erling Haaland again. But watching the highlights back, Everton could have given a real fight. Beto had a couple of very good chances. I won't count them as they were very good chances though. But the quality shone through, and Haaland is being Haaland. I think I heard it was 11 in a row in all competitions. And if you think about the fact that Salah's dropped off a bit this season, which, but before everyone tries to go on me, that's not going to last. It's Mohamed Salah, for Christ's sake. He's got to get his form back. I just feel it. And I'm moving on. Sunderland versus Wolves. I'll be shocked if Sunderland don't stay up. I know it was only against Wolves who were bottom, but again, they're looking good. They're getting the wins. A team that's probably going down would be facing a game against one of the sides in the bottom and drawing them, and that's not going to do anything, or even losing them. Sunderland are winning them and winning them comfortably. I guess it was 1-0 pretty much comfortable, it seemed. You had Nordi Mukiele, who's he was playing a right back, if I remember rightly. Yes, do a 1-2 with Trey Hugh and the other fullback, and then he just about bobbled itself in, and it was like, was Sunderland going to do it again? And it just looked comfortable, and it was finally wrapped up by little Krejci's on goal. It's one of those ones you see in the compilations of them trying to pass the ball back to the goalkeeper. They accidentally put a bit too much welly into it. And of course, that might be considered a back pass. It probably is a back pass. So you watch the goalkeeper panicking. you see the goalkeeper like panicking and trying to save with their feet. And it just looked like, I think Sam Johnson ended up trying to save it with his hands anyway. He was like, I'd rather concede an indirect free kick than let this go in, but you couldn't get anywhere near it. And yeah, there's not much more to say. The only thing I'm going to say is Sunderland are on the same points as Chelsea as Tottenham, if I remember rightly. Yeah, they're going to stay up. They're going to get to the points margin everyone talks about 40 points. I reckon at this rate, they're going to get to that easy. Of course, I'm waiting for me to have to eat my words in about a couple of weeks' time, like I've already said. And then moving on, we had the late game, Fulham versus Arsenal. And it was a classic 1-0 to the Arsenal. Fulham weren't able to have it all their own way. And I thought, Fulham were going to get something from this. They'll probably take a 0-0, they'll probably just play for a 0-0 if it comes to it. But Arsenal and set pieces, be warned. And Leandro Trossard scored from the corner, I think. And it came off the knee area. It was like, it doesn't matter how they go in, as long as they go in. And for a team who's trying to get their first league title since that Invisible season, you've got to take all the wins you can get. You've got to take all the goals you can get. You can have one of the centre-backs carrying it off against you. You're still going to run off and celebrate like it was actually genuinely skill because you want to win this. You've been waiting 3 years. You want to win it, so it's completely fair. Again, not much else to say really, but more than on another day, I think Fulham would have gotten something. He's got a good shot, Matt. Expected goals, not. I think that one went straight over the bar. Anyway, moving on to Sunday, where it was 2-1 to the away side for both games in the end. In Tottenham versus Aston Villa, it was one of those games. I think people know what I mean when I say one of those games where right at the start you think oh, Tottenham are going to run away with this because Aston Villa were getting a sniff in like the first half an hour, and Tottenham probably should have got about 2 or 3. They only got the one through Bentancur. And what happens when you don't get your goals? You've got to pay for them. Well, usually. And there was a case here when Morgan Rogers, when everyone's saying it was going to be it was going to be quite a bad season for him. It's like he scored a midweek in the international break, and then, well, I say midweek. It was last midweek because it was the Wales game. And again, it was another one where the keeper couldn't go anywhere near it. And he could have got anywhere near Buendia's either. It's just a funny moment of the ball going into the box. And then Vicario seeing, I think, Morgan Rogers standing in front of him. And really screaming, he's offside or something. It's like, he's onside. He's probably not in his way anyway. It's just a brilliant finish by Buendia. And yeah, I think Aston Villa are another one of those sides you just got a thing of beating a certain team. I think for Aston Villa it's Tottenham. Because I think I've seen 2-1 Aston Villa against Tottenham about 3 or 4 times in the last couple of seasons. If I remember rightly. I might be wrong. And then I'm seeing on social media, cometh the man, cometh Maguire. And it was the case, yeah. It was Liverpool losing again. They've lost 2-1 in the league 3 times on the row now. And all of them are coming in similar circumstances of other team scores. Well, I say, well, yeah, they all did come quite early on in all the games. Finally get a goal back halfway through the second half, and then losing right near the end. There was Nketiah against Crystal Palace, that's about with Chelsea. And then Harry Maguire hitting it in. I just love Gary Neville's commentary on it. Like, I agree with what some people on social media saying. It's like Gary Neville was every Man United fan at that point. And I was discussing with people before. That's why you pick Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire can do those headers, and for a large chunk of last season when they weren't doing well, he was getting thrown up front as a second striker because he is actually quite good at shooting and heading. And I was discussing, it's like, he might get back in the England squad. It depends what Thomas Tuchel thinks, because at the moment I don't think he's giving us many clues at all about what his England squad's going to be, because our qualifying group, yes, granted, was easy, but it meant that we weren't getting players injured, and we're trying to give ourselves the best chance of getting a good England squad for the World Cup. Also, on that note, I want to quickly give congratulations to Cape Verde for getting to the first World Cup. Like, I imagine people there were delighted to go to the first World Cup, and I think they're just created on the fact that it's probably just because it's been expanded to more teams this year, which, well, that's a matter for something else. But I've seen some people not being too happy about it. And you could probably argue sometimes that arguably so. Anyway, back to the game. It started off with Mbermo scoring after just 63 seconds. He had all this argument about whether the game should have been stopped because of the head injury. What I find interesting, but I'm not going to discuss it further, but you've got to wonder whether the referee noticed that. You wonder whether Michael Oliver saw the fact that it was Van Dijk who actually elbowed him in the head, and that's why he didn't stop it. Or if it was a case like we were discussing when we were watching the game of he was like, "I'll just let this play out and then blow up and because they're not going to score from it." They have scored from it. What do I do? And then Cody Gakpo got him back in the game. First of all, Doggy was keeping him on. Secondly, he nearly missed it. He's sort of hit him on like the right on the heel and gone right to the side netting. Where if you're playing like Sunday League football, you think, oh yeah, that's been playing all along. Coming from someone who hasn't scored in about 3 years. Great, great audition for potentially trying to get a team later on. And then moving on to Monday, you go back to that video again. You might have seen I put 2-1 West Ham. You see, that was a mistake. Because I thought Brentford were at home. And when I do my figures, just so I remember though, I write it down on a spreadsheet, or like a notes thing. And look like this. And I put Brentford 2, West Ham 1, because I thought Brentford were at home. Then I found out they weren't. I was like, oh, okay. And then forgot to change it. So now I was going for West Ham to win. But I thought Brentford were going to win. And I thought they were going to win. I didn't realise it was going to be as straightforward as it ended up being. Igor Thiago probably could have had a hat trick. Quite a few other players could have had quite a few goals. Genuinely, if it ended like 6 or 7-0, probably still wouldn't have been too unrealistic, because West Ham were not in this game at all. And looking here, all their ratings are so low. In the first half, Brentford had 15 shots, which I think I remember hearing is the most chances they've ever made in one half since they've been promoted. Which just shows you how bad they were West Ham were defensively. They were winning literally no corners in that first half. And if it wasn't for Igor Thiago and all their 4 players like wayward shooting for that small period of time, they could have been going to the half time and coming out with no West Ham fans in the stadium. Because it could have been embarrassing. And watching in the last few seasons, you remember some results that they've been going into half time of games like 4 or 5-0 down in the past. And it was actually already a boycott going on, if I remember rightly, with them protesting the ownership by not turning up. And apparently they're playing it against Newcastle as well, and it might get worse. Is that game home or away? It's the next home game, so I guess they could still do it in the Leeds away game. It wouldn't surprise me if it pans over to like Ellen Road's away and there's like not a lot of West Ham fans there because they still want to protest it. Igor Thiago eventually got his goal, even though it came from. Even though Ariella probably should have saved it. He did save it, and you just turn around and just watch and just pray it doesn't roll in, and unfortunately this time it did. And then right at the end, Jensen, who had just come on, got the second, and West Ham just weren't good enough. And something I do want to talk about as quickly as their initial lineup. You had Juve not playing. You had Mavropanos, who looks like he's got injured, not playing. And Wan-Bissaka not playing. You had Magassa, who I thought was alright, not playing. You had Wilson not playing, who didn't even come on. Which I imagine he's livid about. You had so many people not playing. It was bizarre. But then he had 3 changes at half time, brought on Mavropanos, Wan-Bissaka and El Hadji Malik Diouf. It was like, you then turn around to Nuno and say, well, what's the point of that then? Anyway, that's pretty much my run through all the fixtures. Today, it's currently around 4:30 while I'm recording this. I don't know when it's good. Like I always do, because I usually record this on a Tuesday, and you try and get out on the Tuesday. You got Arsenal Champions League predictions, and I might do the Europa League and Conference League one as well. Arsenal, Atletico Madrid. Arsenal will be fine, I think. But, well, actually, it's definitely a potential banana skin. Atletico Madrid is always a potential banana skin. If you saw the Liverpool game right at the start of the Champions League season, where Marcos Llorente currently giving them nightmares. But yeah, I think Arsenal will be fine. They're defensively sound. Probably going to go 1-0, 2-0 to them. You got Newcastle Benfica. That could end level. If the Chelsea one should have ended level. Of course, I'm not trying to. Defensively, we were fine, and I'm quite confident going into the Ajax game, which could come back to bite me. But I'm going to say Newcastle just about win it. I'm trying to be positive for all the English sides. Villarreal Man City are going to win. Although, saying that, they did lose to Monaco, but you could argue they might. Are Monaco like Man City's Champions League bogey team? Because they can't seem to beat them. Like, Liverpool always strong against Atletico Madrid. I know they won, but again, they started struggling against them. And then tomorrow we've got, as I'm recording this, in case this comes out tomorrow, if that makes sense. You got Chelsea Ajax. I'm hoping Mark does a job for us. I'm going to put us as winning. You got Frankfurt Liverpool. You see, I don't want to say too much about that. If they lose, no one will be surprised. If they win, no one will be surprised. I think they'll just about do it, because I feel like someone like Arsenal won't let them lose 5 in a row. Because that would be an embarrassing thing to say. And then Monaco Tottenham. Monaco just beat Man City. Tottenham just drew to Bono Glint. So yeah, I'm going to go for a draw on that one. And I hope that's not the Chelsea bias coming through, but it wouldn't shock me at this point, especially after they lost to Aston Villa. It's one of those ones where you wouldn't be surprised if Monaco got something from it. Tottenham probably could have beat them like 4-0 now. Anyway, that's this episode done. I'm trying to make this a weekly thing. I hope I've got a post page on my YouTube channel. I'll try and update everyone as quickly as possible if I can't do one week. I'm trying to look into trying to get into like the journalism spheres if possible. I'm trying to get into commentary. I'm trying to get into journalism in general. Either one of the two. I want to get just a little bit about it. I just want to like present something on TV. So if something happens, which means I need to slow down the episodes a bit, then I will do, and I will let you guys know. So yeah, thank you for watching this week. Next week, some of the big games I'm going to be talking about are Brentford Liverpool. That'll be interesting. Arsenal Crystal Palace will be interesting. Bournemouth under against Nottingham Forest under Sean Dyche. Let's see how much they improve at that point. Of course, you've got to find out like football, Leeds versus West Ham. Is it going to get worse for West Ham? Anyway, that's next week, so I'm not going to delve too much into it. Thank you guys for watching. This has been AfterMatch. I've been Christopher Coleman. See you later. Thank you for watching AfterMatch. If you want to see more episodes, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel where you'll get a video version of this, or follow me on Spotify if you want to listen to future episodes on the go. Be sure to check out my website, Centre Circle, which you can find on the About page of my YouTube channel.